Hello, everybody. Obviously, a lot of things have been canceled or postponed recently. So, um, but I did want to get back into the schedule of trying to make videos. And I did a few videos talking about like upcoming projects and stuff, like the Uncharted movie. There's certainly a lot to talk about with that one, but I think I'll save that until we know things are looking a little bit brighter and they can start shooting that one again because they were about to start shooting it when all this went down. But there's definitely some interesting stuff going on with that film. But what I'm going to talk about today is the Last of Us HBO series, which is coming. This was announced just as everything was starting to go down, and I think this is going to be a fascinating thing. People have been screaming for a Last of Us movie ever since the game came out, but honestly, I think this is more appropriate because it's more time. It's going to be more time. It's going to be longer. It's going to have time to flesh everything out. And given the budget that HBO has for stuff like Game of Thrones and Westworld, I think like HBO can make this show something truly incredible. And it in the aftermath of COVID-19, I think that the Last of Us is more relevant now than ever. I say now we're still in COVID, obviously, but when this comes out, it'll be in the aftermath, and people will be recovering from it. Now we just know the very basics. We know that it's happening. We know it's on HBO. We know that Gustavo Santaolalla is going to do the music. It's officially being called a series and not a miniseries, which does confuse me a bit. Uh, I would think that a mini series would be more appropriate because this is essentially just an adaptation of the first game. I would assume. Um, may, because maybe it's going to be like different stories and different characters set in the Last of Us universe, and I hope they don't do that. If there is a season two, I to just focus on doing an adaptation of the first game, and if there is a season two, maybe try and bridge the gap between Last of Us One and Last of Us Two a little bit. But I, some people might question why are they doing this? We don't need this. We have the game. The game is about as close to perfection as you can get. Like the movie's just the series is just going to be a live action, a shot for shot retelling. It's going to be the same thing as live action Lion King. It's like we don't need this. We have the game. Like, and that's an interesting argument that almost holds up. But I think the reason why I ultimately have to disagree with that is anybody can go back and watch the original Lion King, but not everybody plays video games. Not everybody is a gamer. It takes like years of like practice and skill to become a gamer. And if someone's never played a game before and you hand them a controller and say play The Last of Us, they might be able to make it through the prologue, but not the rest of the game. Even if they put it on easy, like not everybody is cut out to play video games. And this is a story that more people need to hear. It's a phenomenal story. And so if they can adapt the story into a different medium and more people can get the chance to experience the story that wouldn't have otherwise, that's a very big thing. It's the same reason why a great stage play can become a movie, because not everybody can get a ticket to a stage play, but movies and TV shows, these are the kind of experiences that everybody can share. So I've rambled on for quite some time now without getting to the main point of this video, which is fan casting. I'm going to fan cast The Last of Us, and I don't know if any of these people are actually going to get the roles, but I'm just going to share the types of people that I think, that I hope, these are just my suggestions. If anybody at HBO is listening, I think that some of these people would do a very good job. I'm not an expert, obviously, but I I think that these fan casting ideas are worth looking into. Real quick before we get too much into it, this is going to be Last of Us 1. I'm not going to be casting any characters like Dina or anybody else from Last of Us 2 because, by all indication, this is just going to be an adaptation of the first game. And maybe we'll get into that later, but let's just focus on characters from the first game for now. I do, however, think there's a possibility that Riley from The Last of Us Left Behind will make an appearance, maybe just in flashbacks, but I think it's possible that parts of the Left Behind story will show up in this series, because why not? Left Behind is great. So my suggestion for Riley would be Quivenjane Wallace. She was 9 years old when she was nominated for an Oscar for Beasts of the Southern Wild, and then she did Annie, and then she's kind of hasn't done a whole lot since then. But I think she's great. She's currently 13, so she might be just a tiny bit younger than the actress I currently have for Ellie, but I think they could work really well together, and we would see that these are just kids. Someone like Storm Reed is in contention as well, but I really do want these people the child characters to feel like children and not like teenagers, which makes them very difficult to cast. But so I think Riley is meant to be around 13 or 14, so Quivenjane Wallace's casting makes a lot of sense to me, and I just would like to see her again. I want to see what she's up to. So next up we have Sarah, Joel's daughter, who is in the prologue only, and my suggestion for her would be McKenna Grace. And McKenna Grace might be a bit too old. Also, she's also 13, so maybe this Sarah would be a little bit closer to Ellie in age. I think you could probably cast someone much younger. You could probably cast a complete unknown, but I'm going to have McKenna Grace in there for now. McKenna Grace might make a good Ellie, in all honesty. I've seen a few people suggest that. I think she's just a tiny bit too young at the moment, but who knows how long it's going to take to get the show off the ground. She could very easily age into Ellie, and she'd be a fine Ellie, but for now, I have McKenna Grace as Sarah. Okay, next up, Sam. So, I have Alex R. Hibbert as Sam. You may know Alex Hibbert because he was young Chiron in Moonlight. He's a little bit older now, but I think he can pass off as this role. This picture of him is from a TV show called The She. I'm not sure exactly how recent it is, but I think he can still pull the character off. But again, they might go with an unknown on this one. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to say about Sam, so let's move on to Henry. I actually have two suggestions for. My primary suggestion being Melvin Gregg. I saw him in a Netflix film called High Flying Bird, and I think he's very talented. He resembles the character a lot. He is technically 31, and the character is meant to be 25. I think he can pass as 25. But the interesting thing about Henry is that he's technically speaking 12 years older than his brother, which is a little bit weird. I think they could. I think he works. I think Melvin Gregg could certainly work, but I do want to offer up a slight alternative just in case they want to go with a slightly younger Henry, and that is Najee Jeter, who is, I believe, 23 years old. Yeah, he's a little. I looked him up. He's like a little bit older than me, so he would be 23 years old. He, again, does not look it, but he originated the role of Sam in The Last of Us, the game, and I think it might be interesting to see him move up and play Henry. I'm still going to root for Melvin Gregg, but it would be very interesting to see Najee in the role. Okay, next up we have Maria, and my suggestion for this character is Rosamund Pike. Obviously known for Gone Girl, very, very good actress. But I think she resembles the character in the game quite a lot, and I think she would. I don't know how much screen time they're going to give her, if they're going to expand any of the character's roles, but I think she certainly fits the character, and I think she'd be really interesting to see. Next up is Tommy, and I have a bit of an interesting suggestion for Tommy. I would suggest Matthew Rhys in the role. I think Rhys is a really interesting actor, and he was very, very good in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. And I think it would be fascinating to see him I think the role is a good fit for him, and I could see him working well off of the actor that I have as Joel. I'll bring him up later. I don't know. There's not a whole lot to say, but I think a character actor who's proven himself like this could really add a lot to the role. Again, I don't know how much any of the supporting characters might have their roles beefed up a little bit if there's a little bit more time to show them. I think that could be really interesting. But one of the casting choices I'm really excited about is Bill. I have Paul Walter Hauser as Bill. Paul Walter Hauser from I, Tonya, and also from Richard Jewell. He was so good in Richard Jewell. And now that I see the two photos, I'm looking at the photo of him and of the Bill from the game, and they look really similar. And Paul Walter Hauser is such a good actor. Like, in I, Tonya, he made me go, whoa, who's that? And then Richard Jewell, he was so good, and I think he maybe should have been more in the best actor conversation for Richard Jewell. So, like, I think this role would be amazing for Paul Walter Hauser. So he's one of those that I really hope, of all the suggestions, like, I would love to see him take on this role. Okay, next up, who's next? David. Now, there's a pretty clear choice for David, and that is Mr. John Hawkes. The picture is from Winter's Bone, and it's pretty uncanny, and he's aged since then, but I think he could be amazing in this role. I think that from what I've seen of his career, he's a very, very talented actor, Oscar-nominated actor. Character actor who doesn't get a lot of interesting roles, but I feel like this would be a great fit for him. It's not an easy character to play, but I think just look at the picture. It's just too obvious for me. So John Hawkes is my choice as of this moment. And then Tess, I feel really confident about this. There's only one person that I want for Tess, and that is Sarah Paulson. I think Sarah Paulson can be an absolutely amazing Tess. She's an Emmy-winning actress. She's like close to getting an Oscar. I think if she had a really good Oscar vehicle, and this could be the next step up, because again, if this is a miniseries, then this could be a like best supporting actress in a miniseries type role, or feature, depending on how big the role is. But Sarah Paulson as Tess, like, come on, that's another choice I'm really excited about. Marlene. Ooh, Marlene. Now, I'm cheating on this one. I will fully admit I'm cheating, because there's only one person I can imagine as Marlene, and that is Merle Dandridge. Merle Dandridge, successful actress, get her to come back. She is the one person that I would bring back from the game to reprise their role, because she's just so good, and her performance in the game is just so amazing. It blows me away every single time, and she's a respected actress, so I feel like if you're going to bring anybody back, you could bring her back. But if they really don't want to bring anybody back, then I will offer up a replacement suggestion, an alternate, and that is Zoe Saldana. I do think Zoe Saldana would also be very, very good in this role and would bring a lot of depth to it. But Merle Dandridge is my official suggestion. Okay, and that leaves us with the big two, Joel and Ellie. Oh my god, it's going to be a lot riding on these two. Again, if this is contending for the Emmys, Best Actress in a Miniseries, Best Actor in a Miniseries, or if they want to go for a drama series, like, either way, these two actors are going to be in hot contention for the Emmys, because these are super baity roles. So let's start with Ellie. So, as I said earlier, like, it's difficult to get a grasp on this character because she's 14. That's a very specific age, because it's just coming out of being a child and just getting into being a teenager. and it's a very specific age range that you have to hit. And so a lot of the actresses who in the past have been fan casted as Ellie have now grown out of it. I saw one fan casting that suggested Caitlin Dever as Ellie, and I think she's just too old for the role. She can play a high schooler, but I can't see her playing 14. I think she's too old to pull off 14. Um, I've seen some people suggest Thomasin McKenzie for the part. I think that's doable. I think she's maybe a bit too busy because she's getting a lot of roles now, but I'd love to see her do it. If you had asked me 2 years ago, I would have been screaming to cast Mackenzie Foy. But now I think Mackenzie Foy is a bit too old for the part. So that's tricky. You got to find someone in the exact right age range. I imagine that they'll probably do an open casting call, and there's a good chance that the role could go to an unknown actress. But I have to pick somebody, and I'm actually really, really in love with this pick, and that is Kendall Nicole Yakshi. So Kendall Nicole Yakshi is 14 years old currently. She's going to be turning 15 in the fall. And she is someone who, in everything I've seen her in, seems to be wise beyond her years. She seems to be an old soul. She has this inner strength. I mean, you can tell just by her singing voice that she has this unbelievable strength inside her for someone so young, which is exactly what the character needs. And if you watch her performance in Black Friday, which is where I first was introduced to her, like, that's a show where many of the actors around her are playing for comedy, first and foremost, and she is really not. She's taking it really seriously, and that whole ending of the show is, like, all on her, and it's just unbelievable. Like, watch Black Friday. I will include the link in the description. Kendall Nicole Yakshi, I think. But here's the thing: as phenomenal as she is with the serious stuff, if you watch her in like behind the scenes footage, she seems really carefree and outgoing and like a kid. So she can do the kid having fun stuff that's early on in the story, and then she could be this more hardened determinator character, and I'm just so in love with this choice. Kendall Nicole Yakshi. If anybody from HBO is watching this, please consider casting her as Ellie. Okay. So the big one, Joel. Who do I think should be Joel? Well, ever since the game came out, the obvious choice has been Hugh Jackman. That's the choice everybody has said, and I would have said it too, if not for the fact that the movie Logan exists. And that is a movie that is so similar to The Last of Us in every way. And I feel like if Jackman played Joel, then it would just really drive home how similar those two movies are. And it would feel like, oh, why watch this? It's just Logan. It's just Logan again. People that don't know the game would just feel like it was Logan, and then it's just him doing the same character again, and just like we've seen him do this role, and we don't need to see him do it again. And so my suggestion for Joel would actually be Bradley Cooper. I think Bradley Cooper is a phenomenal actor, and this is going to be the role that will win him an Emmy. I feel like he can play the younger Joel in the beginning, like with a little, maybe trim the beard a little bit for that. But then when he does in a way we have kind of seen this performance before with Star is Born and kind of American Sniper too, with his southern accent and with his beard. But I think he can give us one more, give us the trifecta, because those were two phenomenal performances, Bradley. And I think if he can do it again, I think he can take this role in a really interesting way. He was a lot of people's choice to play Nathan Drake early on when they were doing Uncharted, and I think he would be an even better Joel. And so Bradley Cooper and Kendall Nicole Yakshi as Joel and Ellie, I think those would be amazing. And one thing that I do want to say is that I'm mainly fan casting based off of the character's appearance in the game, but if they wanted to change some of the character's appearance and go in a bit of a different direction, I'd be fine with that. I'd be interested in race bending any of the characters if they wanted to go that direction, but I somehow don't think that they will. Um, I'm proud of the cast that I've assembled, and I would love it if any of these actors got to play these characters in the actual miniseries. I am looking forward to this miniseries or series, whichever it turns out to be. Either way, expect Emmys because it's just that kind of story. And so, yeah, like that's my video. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of these casting choices. Leave your own casting choices in the comments below, and I will see you later with another video. Thanks for watching. Bye.